Greetings, traders. It's Mohan here with the latest update for the training for the Ultra Boomerang. What we're going to be going through right now really quickly is the last approximately 18 to 20 sessions in February. Now, February, the markets shifted a little bit. I like to call it that they had an oil change. Remember, the oil dropped down to around 43, bounced back. Everybody was pegging the market to the oil, and all of a sudden that wasn't working anymore. The market had an oil change, and then somebody started screwing around with the carburetor. This is kind of a metaphor I use. And you know how if you twist some of those screws in the carburetor, that car is going to start spatting and sputtering. Well, that's what happened when the Greece came in and said, we're going to do our own thing. We're going to disconnect from the European Union. And that freaked out the globalist powers that operate these things here, and they started wondering what the heck was going on, and they got fearful because there's 4 or 5, most people don't talk about it in the news, you know why, but there's 4 or 5, 6 other countries, very similar conditions to Greece, ready to line up and possibly join that parade. And guess what? That's going to detract a lot of power from the European Union, and they're a little bit concerned about that. So the big deal that's being made about Greece is symptomatic of a bigger deal, which is the fact that there's other countries in line for a similar thing. Greece is holding steadfast, and this is causing what? That's right. Every other day it's like, oh, decision on Greece. You've noticed the news lately, decision on Greece. What's happening with Greece? Well, now, today, on the 18th, the day of this webinar, there was an announcement. We're in the daytime. It's their nighttime right now, and they made some decisions during that period that they would stall the process a little. In other words, some things got put on hold, and they even mentioned, one article I read, for the purpose of stabilizing the market too. Well, that means traders around the world, we want to trade, but if everybody freezes because they're afraid of something, normally they're freezing because they think, oh my God, a crash is coming or something, that knocks the volume out of the market, and the volatility and the whipsaw starts soaring. Now, here's a chart of today. I'm just showing on the volume here, and you can see here the moving average volume up here. Anything under this magenta line, I'm just showing this briefly, is lower volume. So you can see going into all these sessions, going back here, look, these are all sessions going back the last few days. The volume off the opening half hour, okay, was normal, but still weaker. But the speed of the market, and you can watch this every day, the speed of that volume dropping off after 10-minute, the first 10 minutes of an opening blast of volume here, 1,500 to 2,000 NASDAQ contracts, and then look how quickly dropping off under 7, and then within the first half an hour, 45 minutes, they're holding lower and then just dropping right off. This is where this type of volume activity is what's going to cause, especially early in the session, the whipsaw and the erratic shifts in the market and the range-bound type markets. I'm going to show you today how we can adapt to that. Now, the way we adapt to that, of course, is following the boomerang rules, but especially focusing on trade setup number 2. And most of you know this one very well. When all the trend bands colors match, a new trade can be initiated with a matching new trade channel in that direction and a pullback to signal line. When all the colors match, look for a pullback taken up to 6 candles from the opening of the new channel, but you really want to get in at the first or the second candle if possible. Maybe the third if everything's tightened up a little, and I'll show you examples of that as we go along. But that's very important in this type of environment to just follow that. Trade number 1 will still work, which is really watching for an exhaustion move on a big move and then looking for the reversal. But a lot of times on these type of market environments, after a big move, it's going to be even more choppy than it normally can be. So anyway, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So the first thing I want to do, I've got the chart set up here. Now, we're going to have some question and answers later, and I'll stay as late as we need to answer your questions. Probably won't record them all, but I've got a little quiz I want to go over you with, and so just realize that I'm going to cover all the stuff you want to know. We're also going to talk later about the trade bias selector. I had a request from some of the Boomerang owners to talk more about the trade bias selector, and on the what we call the support resistance, the dynamic support and resistance line, which is very important. And you can see that very thin line here. That's the support and resistance line. I'll be talking about that later. I've just made it real thin. You see how it moves as I shift this chart, changes to white to orange. I'll go into that more too, because that's one of the components of Ultra Boomerang. And they were just requesting to hear more about that. Also, and I'll be doing this after I kind of blow through some charts, I want to show you that there's still 90% winning trades, not a problem at all. But how to focus more on that, and I'm going to show you more about how to use the 3 trend bands in addition to one additional one that I'm going to show you how to make sure these trades set up right for us. So here we go. I'm going to scroll back now. I'm going to go pretty fast, and that's not for any purpose other than we got so many charts I want to go through that I want to make sure that you can understand, you can see how things are winning, and I'll show you why. Okay, first of all, let's start here. This is 129. This is the last day of January. That's how far we scrolled back. So I'm going to go through these here. Now, again, the shift in the bias and the what I call the oil change and the carburetor getting screwed up happened around February 5th. And it's still existing till today. And now with this Greek announcement in the European Union of some delay of some sort, that may bring some more volume back in the markets, put people at ease a little. Let's just go through it. Now, following those rules, as I mentioned, all the trend bands matching color. All the trend bands means this dotted line here that changes from green to red is called the Cobra. It's a new addition to Boomerang from the Ultra Boomerang that we have. It's Cobra here. This thin dash dot line here is called the dynamic trend band number 1, and this thicker solid line, it's actually not that much thicker, but I changed it a little bit, is called dynamic trend band number 2. Very simple, right? Cobra, dynamic trend band 1, dynamic trend band number 2. Cobra gives, in almost 90% of the time, an early advanced warning of when there's going to be a shift in the bias in the markets, or what I call a shift in gravity. There's other more elaborate ways to read that, but for now, just so I can get through as quickly as possible, at least 10 sessions or more to show you that everything's working fine, there's no problem, even though we've had this situation, you'll just be able to see that happening. So again, Cobra shift, and this happens on a still chart, and this happens on a live chart as well. The difference with live chart is, obviously, we have the hindsight of seeing where the market went, but I don't really see that much difference except when the trades are initially setting up, because what these Boomerang trades are, and it's only, remember, this is the Boomerang method or system for scalping 3 points and using a 5-point stop in these trades. They're 90% accurate, but it is only one aspect of Boomerang. Boomerang has over 20 different ways of reading the market, reading a chart, everything. So, and I've gone over a lot of those with you, and I'll go over some more today later. But let me show you the core method. Now, the core method, these are called momentum blasts. That's what I call them, because that's really what they are. The market shifts on the Cobra. The dynamic trend band number 1 matches that color. Dynamic trend band matches that. And down here, you see a shift in the bias indicator number 1 and the bias indicator number 2, both in this case going to the red side, the bearish side. That's a lot of force on that side of the market. The odds of that price moving 3 points in our favor, and often a lot more, you'll get used to it after a while. And eventually, as you're trading with Boomerang, you'll learn to catch more points. But for now, it doesn't matter, because if you can go in and catch 3 to 5 to more Boomerang trades every day, like we have so many people doing, I get the emails all the time on all different contracts, that's going to put a lot of money in your pocket. And what I often tell traders, rather than worrying so much about catching the big move, just get real used to seeing those 3-point trade setups come in, get real used to following the exact rules so you don't deviate from those, and then just add more contracts, because 1 point from here to here is 3 points, right? Well, one contract from here is 3 points, and you say, but it went all the way down here. Well, that's maybe, what do we got here? It's 23 quarter, 8 quarter. Well, that's 15 points or whatever. Yeah, but if you put 5 contracts on here to move through, well, you got your 15 points, and you got it with less risk, and you can go in there and cut your risk back, get in that trade, and move right out of it. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, just a thought. 15 points is 15 points. On NASDAQ, that's 15 times 20 bucks. That's 300 bucks, right? So just keep that in mind. All right, so let's get going. It's going to go rapid fire here, don't mind. And I'll mention the rules as we go along. So everything on one side, all the trend bands match. Pull back the signal line number 1 here. This is the thin line here. That's the signal line, by the way, running through here. Pull back signal line, and down they go for 3 points. It's a stronger level move, so we got a little reflex move here. Whenever you see the market make a little stall and reflex, if all of the market is on one side, get ready for another second level move here. We had that going, but what happened here is it didn't reverse enough to give a counter buy channel, and then the failure of that to produce a new sell channel. That didn't happen here. So just been one trade on this move. Again, here. Now, what I'm telling you is that we want to not worry about exhaustion and the crossover and trying to catch the first move there. Just forget that for now. All we're going to look for is matching trend bands, particularly the Cobra and the dynamic trend band number 1, with prices above, in the case of bullish, dynamic trend band number 2, and in the case of bearish, below, same color matching candles of green and a new buy channel. In this case, you see what I mean? So you got matching Cobra. Notice the advance early warning with the Cobra changing color. The new trade channel here, and it has a bias accelerator alert on top of that, and we'll talk about that later. And the pull back the signal line, and there's your 3 points. Now again, here was a counter move, but it didn't give us a sell channel that failed for reversal. Now the sell channel doesn't mean it's a trade because none of the dynamic trend bands are matching. It's just an early warning that the sell channel, when it turns back into a buy channel, get ready to take a second level trade. We didn't get that here, just like the one before, but a winning trade, all within the first half an hour trading. Now just theoretically, if you had 5 contracts on, you would be up $500 in the first half an hour on these 2 small moves. You've cut your risk. You've hardly been in the market at all, because the minute that's set up and all that market force was on that side, boom, you got your 3 points. Do you see what I mean? In the end, what really matters? That's right, making the 500 bucks. Who cares about the rest? You're going to work. You're a blue-collar worker. You went into work. You did your job. You followed the assignment. Your boss, Boomerang, and the markets. The markets set up the boomerang pattern. You followed your job, and you made 500 bucks. You could go home at that point. But you say, well, no, I've only been trading half an hour. I want to keep going. Well, God bless you. That's like me. Let's make some more, right? Okay, one of the rules is, now here, the Cobra crosses over the steep dynamic trend band, but we're not worried about getting into this trade right away unless everything's matching and we have a new sell channel on that line. Now, what happened here was after the crossover, there was a quick change. The prices fell off so quick. There was a pullback to signal line, which got signal. Otherwise, that yellow dot would absolutely not be there. It's not going to be there unless that market pulled back and hit the signal line there. But the point is, this fell off so quickly, it falls into the category of the one simple rule. We have several very simple rules, really, really simple. I'll show you those real quick, and then I'll get back into some speed on this. Do not trade against the steep dynamic trend band unless, of course, you get all the configurations working the way, and you want to see it flatten. And do not trade when the dynamic trend band is completely flat after the market's gone up and down, and now it's just flat lining. That's where the whipsaw and all that stuff occurs. You can you can gauge whipsaw just by looking at the dynamic trend band in many cases. And watch for the fat channel formations, which is caused by 2 to 4 spike candles after new trade channels opened, usually 250 to 3 points in length or more. That's the only rule. 3 rules, 3 simple rules. So what that tells you here, that the big focus is the dynamic trend band number 2. Always gear your trades off the DTB number 2. In this case, it's kind of steep here, and you watch for the Cobra to cross over. That's a vital, important aspect, of course, along with the color change in DTB number 1. But if they drop right off like this, don't get mad. It's a missed trade. You don't want to try to get back into that. If you're a little bit tricky, I can admit that when there's a new crossover, very frequently the space between the dynamic trend band and number 2 is an area where the market will stall and revert back on that same side. But that's not a trade method, because it's, where do you get in here, you know? Do you get in here? What if it goes way up to here? It's still that went in that space and fell back, but it's not a trade method. I'm just letting you know from a point of chart reading that it is there. But this trade is done because the fat channel rule here, look at, if you turn your head to the left, you can see the little belly on this channel. You got to stand aside. So now what are we waiting for? Well, obviously you're anxious. You know, emotionally the markets can shake you around. And look at how this is the first day, the end day of January, and here comes that whipsaw all of a sudden. Everybody started going, me especially. I go, wow, what's with this whipsaw coming into the new month here? I was a little surprised. What the heck is going on? Why isn't it just flowing, and why isn't it going away like it was doing in January? It was whipsawing like crazy all of a sudden. I started noticing that right away towards the end of January. Now, the dynamic trend band is still pressing lower. It's still red color, so you got to honor that. Obviously, you're not going to want to take a new buy channel here until because first of all, you got candles whipsawing all the way up here again. It doesn't matter. It's nothing wrong. It just means stand aside. That's the rough part. It's telling you, Boomerang is literally screaming, stand aside. Whipsaw down, whipsaw back up, whipsaw back down again. Stand aside. Wait for what? All matching trend bands. The Cobra, or the dynamic trend band, comes down here, flattens out, number 2. Market's still whipsawing up, but look what happens. A new trade channel opens, and right here, everything's matching up. You got the Cobra above the flat dynamic trend band number 2. Number 1 is up above it here too. Here's a pullback signal line, and it whipsawed, but it did give you a 3-point jump from 19 up to 27. Heavy whipsaw. I know. I'm trading this stuff every day. It's heavy. 19 jumping 8 points in a blink of an eye practically on the upside. Well, now what? Waiting for the next trade. So we got that one. That would have been 3 winning trades that day, following the exact rules. Same thing here, early Cobra warning. Now look at the flat dynamic trend band. First thing you want to look at is ask yourself, we tend to do it last. We tend to look at the Cobra first. Okay, the Cobra's changing color. That's good. Okay, maybe I'll get a bearish trade. Then you see it matching dynamic trend band number 1. Well, you're on the right track. Nothing wrong with that. But the main thing, too, is to watch for that Cobra. Make sure it's flat if you're going to look for another counter sell trade. Then we see here, now this is another thing I'm going to introduce today, which is just kind of common sense, but watch for the trade signal line, which is really just another faster trend band, to make sure that's crossing over the dynamic trend band number 2, or right at the crossover with prices under that dynamic trend band. Very important. Then, when everything's matching, you can take that next pullback signal line, which would have been down here, where you should have got 3 points. You got so much force on that side of the market, especially if bias index number 1 changes red to number 2. You're going to be in great shape on the trade. But make sure the prices are under the dynamic trend band number 2 to be short and above to be long, and ideally the trade signal line as well. You might have got in this one early because the prices were under the DTB number 1 or number 2, so that's cool. Down they go. Otherwise, even if you took the second dot or the third one, you would have still had a nice trade. Then they just flop lower. And again, the normal rule is when they get exhausted, you look for the first buy channel to get long into the trade, right? That's generally the rule. Well, and it a little bit ignores the steepness of the dynamic trend band number 2. But I'm saying in this current market environment, let's just go ahead and focus entirely on getting all these trend bands to match up first. And then when you take a trade, if you're just a little patient, you got the Cobra crossing over. Look at the whipsaw coming back in here, driving you nuts. They're long, they're short. Now, had you taken this first pullback signal line, it would have been a successful trade. But don't worry about that for now. Let everything flat now. Let the crossover occur here. Let the crossovers occur. The number 1 crossing over number 2, counter sell channel, but then here comes a new buy channel. Now you got everything matching. Take that pullback and you cut your risk and you're going to have success. Trend bands cross, and again, up they go. Look at these. Look at this candle here. This was the first day, the last day of January, and I said something's up with this market. Things getting a little bit crazy here. 650 shot all the way up to 1350. Look at this candle. You can see it in the still chart. When it's happening in real time, this thing is like this big cigar, long cigar going straight up. You go, what the? 675 or 7 up to 13. 6-point candle after you got long here shooting up. And then the minute it shoots up here over the Bollinger Band, they come crashing down again. I know it's the market's shifted. They start shifting, and after February 5th, it got really, really bizarre. That's when the volume started drying up because everybody went, whoa, this is nuts. Well, here's a second level trade, but look at all trend bands matching. Those are the trades you want to focus on with Boomerang. Pullback signal line, new trade channel, pullback signal line, and up they go. This is like 5 or 6 winning trades in the first hour and a half. That's good enough. Stand aside. If you want to keep going, that's fine, but just make sure all the trend bands match. What happened here? The trend bands aren't all matching. You got the Cobra still leaning to the upside. Now notice that, how sensitive that is. If you put the cursor right up here, you can see the pizza pie here. I have this joke where it's why I use it every second, because it takes 10 seconds to just put this up here and observe that there's still like, it looks like a slice of pizza. I mean, if you put it here, it's a big slice. If you put it here, it's a smaller slice. And as it moves up, you can observe by just dragging it along there, the flattening. You can see the flattening real clear. Well, as soon as it started flattening, what happened? The market crashed lower. You might have caught this, but really you had the prices moving back here. This is tricky stuff here. You may have caught this, but if it's smashed down here and you missed it, I miss these all the time. Don't worry about it, but don't take this sell signal here. This is a fat channel. Turn your head to the left, and you'll see the belly after it's formed. Most of those are going to reverse. So now, same thing. Look at though. I'm showing you this because this is the way to go to work every day and not have to worry about a thing. Just follow the matching trend bands. Here they're all matching. Here's a new trade channel. They're not quite matching yet. The prices get above the dynamic trend band number 2. That's good. Everything's matching now by the pullback signal line. 17, maybe you say you got 17.5. Well, that ran 20.5. You might have eked out a 3-point gain. There might have been some 17 went down to 14.50. Look, I know there's going to be some futures trading. You're going to have some volatility. You're going to have some pressure against the price, but everything's matching. Just hold on. And sure enough, they screamed higher here. Screamed higher again. Now again, what's wrong? Why is this not a trade? That's right. Put your cursor up against the dynamic trend band and then just drag it along there. You'll see it's still, as long as there's a relatively decent sized piece of pizza in there, in that middle there, I hope you get my joke, that's how you can tell. It's not flat yet. It's getting flat here, but even when you put it right up here, you can see it's still not quite flat. And besides, we're waiting for all matching trend bands. So this didn't pull back. They screamed higher. They're really trying to push this market up here. Yeah, let's face it, there was probably some Fed rigging in here trying to make sure the market hangs up. Of course, sometimes what happens, they'll push and push and push, and then it just falls apart. They can't fight it anymore. There's different reasons for that too, but at least most of those high-speed frequency traders, and now it's illegal for them to spoof, and they're out of the market. But here's the point. So now, clearly, up here as you're dragging your cursor along here, you'll be starting to see that the trend band is flattening out. The dynamic trend band number 2, red candles below that, a new trade signal or trade channel right here, and still a little mismatch here, but you've got a crossover. Whenever you got a crossover, the dynamic trend bands, that gives you further impetus to get on that side of the market, because I would say 85% of the time the crossovers are going to produce a strong directional move in that way. It's one of the brilliant features of Boomerang that just manifested with the dynamic trend bands. It's one of the only systems, the only one I've seen, maybe there's others out there, that tells you in advance that there's going to be a larger scale move. I mean, that alone is worth the price of Boomerang, which is only $11.95. I mean, it's a very small amount of money for the best system, and there's no monthly billings after that. I look at stuff all the time, and they look like they have a decent price, and you see, oh, plus $150 a month to to lease it. A lot of stuff like that out there. So the point is, the crossover tells you you're going to be in good shape. Go ahead and take the next short, and down they go. See, so far we've had 90%, 100% winning trades just following the rules. Now I realize live it's a little more difficult, but that's only because the prices are flipping around, and emotionally anybody, even the most advanced trader, is going to be a little bit, pushed around by the movements of the market. So then you get your short there. Now we're doing what? Nothing. Why? There's no counter buy channel that failed. So we're not going to take a second level trade. Just let them flop lower. It doesn't matter. They'll eventually find a bottom. And then we do what? Wait for the next crossover, ideally. Watch for the Cobra to come in. Crossover dynamic trend band number 2. Watch for the colors to match up. And then when you see here now that the colors are matching up right here, this is your safer trade in this whipsaw type of environment. You might have gotten in a little bit early with the crossover occurring right here. You might have expanded your chart out and said, well, they're crossing over. Here's a new channel. I'm getting in right here. That's okay. You can see on the second or third one here, everything was matching, and that's where you get a little more safety, or a lot more in most cases. Take those trades, and you'll find if you just wait for them, there's one right around the corner. Stuff like this, you got your 3 points here, and well, yeah, that thing's going to the moon, and nobody really knows for sure why. You can see that I can see when I'm trading in my room the shift in the higher time frames, which are the 5-minute, 13-minute, 30, 60, and the big picture is the 135. I can see those shift, and I can forecast a bigger move coming. Once that gets underway and you've caught your 3 points here, maybe it took 5. How to catch, where to get in on the pullback, that's a little bit difficult sometimes when there's, especially on NAS, when they're screaming higher. The only hope is a counter reversal that you can get into, or at least some kind of pullback towards a dynamic trend band number 2. In this case, went straight up. So now we got like 6, 7 trades in a row. And what are we doing here? Well, it's tempting to want to try to get in this trade because you have the crossover, the dynamic trend band is flattened, and you got a new trade channel here. The Cobra is red, and the DTB, the crossing DTB, number 1 is red. So you go ahead and trade the pullback signal line, and your odds are pretty good you're going to get that pullback. And sure enough, 45 quarter came down to 39.5. You would have got it. You can have faith in this. See, if you wait for everything to match up, you can have a lot of faith in that trade, even when it moves against you. Like here, say you got in right here, 44.75. Well, they leaped up to 47.48 here. It's not pleasant, but that's trading. You're never going to get rid of that in trading. You're not always going to get the perfect entry, but Boomerang shows you where to get in, and most of the time there's very little pressure against that trade. Down they go. Now again, here's like a quick failure of the downside that starts bubbling back up, and then right here, big whopper candle, 40, running 47, past 7.5 point candle, screaming higher. But guess what? Once those prices go up here and tap the Bollinger Band, because you're on a second level trade, now tap the Bollinger Band and start bubbling up over the top of the now re-changing back to green dynamic trend band, everything's matching. Notice that. It's all you have to remember. The condition of the dynamic trend band and all the trend bands matching, go ahead and buy that pullback, and they screamed higher. Now we're getting later in the day. You've made a lot of money. You probably want to go ahead and wait here. But you're always following the crossover of the dynamic trend band, number one with number two, as a monitor for the system. And when they're all matching, because look at this. This is a classic example of, again, of another pullback where you didn't have a lot of matching going on here. It's a little bit trickier because, sure, they were matching here, and ultimately this trade, 53, ran down to 47 because the colors are matching on Cobra and dynamic trend band number one, but you have to be a little careful these trades. But when it shifted, it reset the program for the dynamic trend bands, because all of a sudden they did fall, but then they're right back up again, new buy channel, and right away here everything's matching again. So you're long again for another 3-point move, and the same thing, a counter sell channel and a counter buy channel, everything's matching. And if you got the guts, you can grab these things. Of course, it's getting a little late in the day, and up they go again. So now I'm going to speed up, because that was, I think, the first day. You could see there was like 8 or 9 winning trades in a row, just following this idea of waiting for everything to match. So now I got to get going faster. I got a lot of work to do here. Sorry about that. Okay, market screaming higher in pre-market, and then after the opening. Whenever you see a big move like this, you got to be a little careful, because that's a recipe for whipsaw. And we later found out that a lot of this whipsaw started right after the 5th. So now, okay, so this is pure whipsaw here. Here's how you really can see the whipsaw. Yellow dot, blue dot, market running up with a green candle, yellow dot pushing higher, market screaming back lower, candle here, higher they go, red here, nothing's matching, counter candle red with a blue dot. It's just whipsaw. Boomerang, this is Boomerang very kindly saying, stand aside. It's not frustrating, nothing wrong. Just Boomerang here is telling you, just like a dynamic trend band cross, whipsaw, caution, stand aside. Don't even touch the mouse. You're not going to trade this. Wait, let this happen. Then now we're back into watching. Okay, now they're pulling back. The dynamic trend bands have crossed. They're still on the downside cross. Now they're matching. All three are matching. And the pullback signal line occurred right as a new channel opened. You probably wouldn't have caught this. They slammed down lower. What can be done? Well, as I mentioned, it's not a trade method, but generally on a new crossover, especially when it's crossed, ran in that direction a little, and then all the colors match, the space between the dynamic trend band number 1 and number 2 is often a resistance area for a continuation move. However, all you had to do is wait, because there was a counter channel here. See that arrow? A counter channel move and then a counter sell channel. That's the signal that tells you to go ahead and go short. When you see a setup like this occurring, you got to be really ready to take that first pullback to signal line, because very frequently this will happen. When you see that counter buy move channel, get ready, because all these dynamic trend bands are matching. They're going lower. And then they hit the signal line and down they go. Sometimes in this case you can just short them, because that counter buy channel is not going to get anywhere. But generally, if you can just wait for the arrow, wait for the sell dot, get aboard this. Happened again here. Counter buy channel, counter sell channel, take the trade to the signal line, and down they go. Happened again here, but now you're getting a little crazy again. That's when I started noticing, boy, look at, this is like the very last trading. We did the 29th a minute ago. This is the very last trading, and look at the volatility in the whipsaw. Anyway, again, wait for prices to get above dynamic trend number 2. Wait for the colors to match. Like right here, they didn't cross yet. You might have taken a chance here, but generally I just wait, because when it gets crazy like this, I'd rather just miss something than get stopped out. Counter channel, new channel, pullback signal line, this one can be taken. Why? Everything's matching. You got a dynamic trend band moving up, number 1 or number 2, and it's a second level trade. So you get your focus up here on the dynamic trend band, like right here. Okay, the price are screaming. Again, running up with spike candles and then running down with spike candles. Very emotionally disturbing when you're a futures trader like we are. You're getting used to this wild activity, but it's the fast money that attracts us. Again, the best thing to do is get really, really good at trading the exact method of boomerang. And if instead of trying to catch the bigger moves, better to learn how to get really, really good and consistent at catching these and putting more contracts on. 15 points is 15 points, whether you do it with one contract on a big move or you put 5 contracts on and make a 3-point move. It's the same exact amount of money, $500, I think, $300. Anyway, so here we go. What's wrong here? It's a fast move. Price are below the dynamic trend band number 1, but it's still sloping up a little. And right here is where the Cobra crosses over. You want to watch for the signal line to cross over the dynamic trend band number 2 and the Cobra. Then you can trade that pullback to the signal line. Although they had spiked lower here, you could have grabbed that one and tried to catch it, because everything was right now just freshly matching. It's going to work out. Whipsaw back up here. All at the end of the month, everybody's going, wow, boy, this market's volatile. Same thing, crossover. This one was so volatile, there wasn't even a pullback signal line. They just shot straight up, which is rare. If they do that, usually you'll get a trade at the top of the fat channel here like this one. You don't trade that because they're shooting up, hitting the signal line up here. You don't want to, that's the rule number 3 up there. It's only 3 simple rules. Now notice too that after up and down movements, and this is where the whipsaw often comes up, down, up, the dynamic trend band, by doing that, is forced to be kind of flat. Dynamic trend band number 2, and that's where you get the whipsaw going. Still, had you seen all these matching and you traded this pullback here to the signal line, 66.75, ran 63. See that? That's the power of the matching dynamic trend bands. If you could just wait for those, you'll find your trading to be much easier. You'll have more confidence. You won't be as fearful. I do it every day. I just wait and try to err on the side of caution, waiting for everything to match. Certainly, here we go. Same thing. Now, I want to show you a little method for watching for a topping process so you can get it ready. Of course, all the boomerang signals will alert you, so that's not a problem. But one thing you can watch for is when you have the Cobra leading the market up, and then the Cobra The first sign is it starts spreading away from the dynamic trend band number 1. See that? Sure, the prices are still moving up, but as the Cobra spreads away more and dynamic trend band number 1 starts flattening, notice how the topping action is coming in here. Then when the Cobra spreads under dynamic trend band number 2, well, there's your top forming right there. Then as prices cross the dynamic trend band number 2 shooting up through the highs, that's your top. And by watching this, it'll give you an early advance warning signal for the next trade channel. It'll be a good one. There's that crossover. You see what I mean? You're actually, by doing what I just showed you, you're forecasting the crossover occurring very soon. There's that pullback signal line, and down they go. I'm going to have to shoot through this a little quicker. Counter channel and counter buy channel and a down steep dynamic trend band, and a sell channel with the sell channel open and the signal line came right in. But what I want you to do is when you get a strong trending move like this, watch for that counter buy channel come in and have your finger ready to go short on that next yellow dot that shows up, whether the trade channel opens or not. If that yellow dot shows up, or monitor on the right side here the signal line. It's generally the best thing to do because you got the markers here, you got the price markers, and when that current price marker merges with the signal line marker, just hit them. Go right up here and push sell at the market. Don't use limit orders. Works sometimes, but it's just get in. Don't worry, Boomerang will protect you. Crossover of the Cobra here on a steep down move. Cobra crossover telling you to get in, but let's be a little more careful and wait for everything to match up a little better. There'll usually be time here. Notice here, pull back to that space between the dynamic trend band 1 and 2 after an early, it's got to be early crossover, catches support. Not a trading method, but it's a way to read the markets. If you want to discover some way to trade that, you're going to be okay. But I'm just saying that's what you can watch for as a method of reading the charts. And so no trade here. And again, without the matching, sure it was matching here, but without that dynamic trend band getting closer to the crossover, after a big move to the downside and a price is shooting up, you're just asking to be stopped out if you try to trade, if you chase it and trade at the top of the trade channel here. 81 came down to 77, just barely held 5 points, but yikes. Who wants to go through this if you can avoid it? So this trade got missed. This one, you still got that dynamic trend band. Get that cursor up there and move it along. You can see there's still some steep upsloping move to it. So you've got to be a little bit careful on that pullback. And if they stall right here under the dynamic trend band, which doesn't change color, big key thing, prices are moving lower, but that dynamic trend band, number 2, refuses to change color. Get ready for the next buy signal when all of a sudden everything's matching again, because that's going to be a powerful move, and it sure was. This happens over and over and over in these markets. Every day it's the same routine. All you got to do is watch for the dynamic trend band, number 1, to match Cobra. Watch for the trade signal line to be on this side, the buy side in this case, of the dynamic trend band number 2. It usually is going to be if the Cobra crosses. And let everything match first. Now here we got another situation where the prices fell off. You got the prices under the dynamic trend band right here, number 2. You got the crossover arrow for a new, not for the crossover, but for a new sell channel. But the key here is you got the Cobra crossing over. That kind of clears the way. And as long as these are pretty close, and here they're matching. On this pullback, you can actually see them matching. Here they might have, the dynamic trend band number 2 might have been blinking a little on here, but that's okay. That's close enough. You got a big move getting ready to come in here. So go ahead and hit them here. And you also had a print here of the bias selector. Anyway, down they go. The webinar is getting a little long today, unfortunately. Counter channel, I don't mean unfortunate, I just mean I just want to make it really efficient so you can, I wanted to show you how Boomerang is working fantastic even in spite of all the whipsaw. You just got to wait for the matching things. And if you get all this whipsaw going back and forth, just stand aside. Don't try to fight it or think you have to figure it out. Just relax. There's a trade around the corner when prices cross over the dynamic trend band. Everything matches, down they go. Let me shoot through this real quick. I'm going to go on the next session, which takes us into February now. Good old February 2015. Market had an oil change, and somebody fooled with the carburetor, and the market was spatting and sputtering. Not Boomerang's fault, not Mohan's fault, not the market's fault, just the way things are. Counter buy channel, sell channel, down they go. Didn't even hit the pullback sig line. Too much volatility. There was an early trade after the market opened, all the trend bands matching, down they go. I'm just going to show you that going forward here. No trend band match, no trade, all trend bands matching, down they go. Take those pullback sig line. All trend bands matching, yellow dot, down they go. No matching, not everything's matching here. This is still sloping downward, and what are you getting in response? Whipsaw. Who wants to be in this? Just wait, let them match up, trade the pullback sig line. I know it was beyond 6 candles here, but now you got a smooth up channel coming in. Trade that pullback to the Cobra, the sig line, and take them up. Choppy move up. Now here's a counter move where you do see the crossover, the dynamic trend band, and the color matching. You trade that pullback to the sig line, and you're going to get your 3 points. That's all we want is our 3 point. Everything matching here. Notice that? Pullback sig line. You can do this on your own. In other words, I don't have to do it all here on this recording, but look, every time all the trend band, here they're not matching at all, no trade. Here they're matching, pullback sig line at 17.25, and they run 25. It's not difficult. You just have to sit there and really be focused. Not everything's matching here. You got a crossover. Dynamic trend band is trading blue. It's just really not that good of a configuration here because of what's this market's been screaming higher. I can guarantee all the higher time frames here are bullish. This little pullback, you probably got I'm almost assured that you got the 135 bullish. Trading against all those like that is just asking for it. You just want to get on the same side as the matching bull trend, buy trend bands here. Up they go. See that? Everything's matching here. There's the blue dot. All you're looking for is matching dynamic trend bands and a matching color dot. Look. Everything matches here. Yellow dot, sell them. Watch this again here. No match of all 3 of them here. It's not going to work. It did actually got 3 points on a spike whipsaw deal, but look at it. It's a steep dynamic trend band. Number 2, start by focusing your trade on what, ask yourself right on your desk, what is the dynamic trend band number 2 saying? What's the color and what's the slope? See what I mean? Steep, flat, flat, steep, flattening, flat, and then reversing. Here's everything matching. Yellow dot, down they go. You had some, well, let's see what he got. 35.25, shot him down to 32. You still got, there was still 3 points in here, believe it or not. Now this trade, after the spike lower, would have been a higher risk trade, but I'm just showing you. All I'm doing here now is all trend bands matching, and if there's a dot associated with that. No dot here, nothing to do. All trend bands matching here. Here's a pullback sig line. It works out great. 90% winning trades. All trend bands matching here. Pullback sig line. Up they go. You see that? Pretty simple. Things aren't matching here. They spike lower. Now they're matching, but it's fat channel at this point. If you turn your head to the left, you can see the fat channel. Crystal clear. Crossover. Nothing's matching. All of a sudden, now everything's matching. Pull back the sig line here at 32.75, and they end up going down to 27.5. 5-point move. Yeah, you had to take a little heat, but that's okay. No big deal. We're futures traders. We can handle it. All trend bands matching. Blue dot at 43.25. Up they run to 48.25. I'm not making this up. The still charts are just as valuable as the live charts. If you're following the rules, you don't care. But take the 3 points. If you try to hold longer, then you're going to have to tolerate some more volatility, more risk. This thing just ran away. Nothing you can do. Just forget about it. You don't have to worry about it. Big, giant move like that, expect volatility, especially coming into the close. Whipsaw right into the close. Let me move on here. I'm going to just do a few more, but I'm going to ask you, Boomerang owners, that's what these, we invite the public to our trainings here, but these are for the Boomerang owners, but you're certainly welcome to come. If you want to buy Boomerang, you can watch the trainings. We do these every 2 weeks, just about. I skipped last week because we had the new month coming in, all this volatility. I wanted to see where things were going, get some, we had a holiday coming in too, so I want to get that out of the way. Anyway, new day here. What's happening right here? What do you see right here? That's right. You see all the trend bands matching way down here. You have a new buy channel, pullback signal line, up they go, 3 points. If you got 20 contracts on there, you're going to make some good money on one trade. You know, think about that. What do you got here? Nothing. Mush. Whipsaw mush. Guess what? February 3rd. Remember I told you on the 5th, there were symptoms coming in here, but on the 5th is when everything just absolutely shifted and it just went nuts. You got to face it. It's not anything. That's what I'm showing you now. Is there's still 90% winning trades following the exact method. If you don't follow the method, there's not going to be 90% winning trades. You're going to make up your own ideas or get pushed around emotionally by the markets and make up trades. That's not my fault or Boomerang's fault. All matching trend bands with a new buy channel. Plenty of time to see them all match. Blue dot, buy them. Just look for the matching trend bands right here. Now here, again, heavy whipsaw to the downside. Right away when I see this, I go, forget it. You can take the trade. Let's see what happened. 3 1/4 ran down to 200.5. You would have missed a 3-point gain before they whipsawed them back up on you. But notice, by the way, this again, I want to point this out to you. Do your own research on this. You could maybe develop something. New crossover. That's powerful. Whenever there's a new crossover, it's a powerful move. There's going to be a big move 85, 90% of the time. If you get a downside whipsaw move, the space between the dynamic trend bands is very frequently, I haven't really fully researched it yet, probably about 70% of the time, maybe a little higher. It's going to be a resistance area if they scoop them down. On a new crosser, it's got to be brand new. Brand new. This is a fat channel. Turn your head to the left, you'll see it. Space between the dynamic trend bands sends them back lower. That's not a trade signal. I'm just showing you that. Just throwing out some hints. There's a lot of valuable ways you can use Boomerang. Again, you know, something that could use some research. I just been so darn busy. I trade live every day. It's like, God, my life, where'd it go? I'm obligated every day to get in front of, you know, a tremendous amount of traders and provide winning trade signals. Anyway, space between them, maybe a method would be to see that come up into the space between the DTBs and then take the next, pull back the signal line, something like that. I don't know. I'd have to research it. Maybe try to get it this weekend, but I don't know. All my weekends get chewed up by tremendous amount of work, but I don't mind. I love it. New sell, counter buy channel, new sell channel, all trend bands matching. Look at that yellow dot. You don't look for the, when you get this kind of stuff, you just look for that yellow dot. Boom, down they go. Same thing here. Is everything matching? No. Is anything even close to matching here? No. Here's a new buy channel. After the DTB flattens out, now all the colors matching, right? What happens when the blue dot shows up here after everything's matching? They scream higher. That's all you got to look for. Just use trade number 2, rule number 2, or trade method number 2. Matching trend bands, blue dot on the blue buy side, yellow dot on the red side. Same thing. Prices under, got to get those prices under the dynamic trend band number 2. It's normally going to be the case, but don't rely on that because when they're whipping around, you may miss something. Everything's matching way up here on these, the two dynamic trend band, or Cobra and DTB number 1. Here they're matching. Here's the signal line. Nail them on the downside there. See, all you're looking for is matching trend bands and the dot on that side of the pullback to get in the trade. Boomerang's so cool. You don't even have to speculate. I've seen programs. I look at a lot of stuff out there because it's just kind of a hobby of mine. And I saw one program by a very respected supposed ex-floor trader and all this, and he's saying, now, what you do is you match this candle with this one. Then if this candle comes up to 1/3 retrace of this candle, I mean, really complex. And when that market is flying around, you don't have time to figure that stuff out. Maybe he does, but I don't know. It's not for me. Boomerang, I designed it to be so simple. All you do is watch for the matching dynamic trend bands and take that first pullback to the signal line, that blue dot on that. When everything matches, take that pullback and watch them shoot higher. Do you want to study a 3-week trading course to figure out all this complex stuff to how to get in a trade? How are you going to make money? For 3 weeks, you're not going to make any money. Then when you finish the course, I guarantee you'll be confused. And then when you start to go live, you see, let's see now, Chapter 3 said if this happens, I'm supposed to take the third candle and subtract 50% of that and add that to the next candle. I swear to God, that was a method. And I'm sure it works maybe for day charts, like one day at a time. But when you're flying around in these day trading markets, you don't have time for that. What's happening here? They're matching here, right? And the Cobra or the signal line came under here, and maybe you took that short and it went up, but guess what? They're not matching. Just forget about it. It's too much risk, especially in this current market. Later, if they get a little more fluid, you might have seen the signal line come down here and nailed that short there at 80.5, and they went down substantially, 5 points. But for now, wait till everything matches. Here, a match came in just barely, but then they shot up. This is a volatility kicking in. 2-3, February 3rd. I'm going to speed up a little more. I'm going to have to turn the recorder off pretty soon because if the tape gets too long, Google sends it out a little bit, or not Google, YouTube sends it out a little bit fuzzy. All matching dynamic trend bands. First signal line pullback. Hit them. All matching dynamic trend bands. A little late in the game, but still, look at this. 78 quarters shot up to 82.5. The power of all the matching trend bands is very strong, and usually they're going to run. Obviously, they were shooting up higher. This is the volatility coming in, but that still ended up panning out for a winning trade. Counter sell channel, counter buy channel with what? All the trend bands matching. Grab that pullback signal line. You got to be fast, but it's very easily acquired. You can get them. They're not hard. Market's moving very at a nice pace. Up they go. Do you see these winning trades? I'm not making this up. And this isn't David Copperfield magic show. I'm just showing you. Counter move. These are the ones you got to watch for in the trend moves. If they don't happen, just forget them. Counter sell move that fails. Look, not one single trend band even changed here on this counter sell move. So when that happens, get your finger on the trigger, because when that buy channel opens up on the other side, take the first blue dot that you get, or maybe the second, and watch them shoot up higher. What happened here? Matching, matching, matching. Pull back the signal line, 98.75. Down they go. You took a little bit of heat on this one, but that's life, you know. And it's getting late in the day. But you see that? Matching, 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 dot, take the trade. Actually, when everything matched, if you took this one, you would add a little heat. If you took this one, 99 quarters shot right down to 96. You had your 3 points. If you want to catch the big move, you can go for it, and there are methods using Boomerang to do that, but why? Just add more contracts. Get real good at catching these 3-point moves and put on 8 contracts. That's right. You're going to cut your volatility. You got something that is so valuable. I'm giving you this system that is so vital and valuable. Everything's matching here, right? Is there any question that all these trend bands are matching? Buy the pullback signal line. If you think, well, that might have been blinking. Well, don't worry. Prices have ran up and tapped the Bollinger Band. or close to it, but still the price are well, these last 3-4 candles are above the dynamic trend band. Grab the pullback signal line. If it's blinking, then catch the next one. Up they go. Counter sell. Get ready. Not one single dynamic trend band change on this counter sell arrow. The minute that shifts again to a buy dot, grab them. Up they go. They did it again here. Boom, up they go on the shift again. That's a trend. That's how we catch trends. That's how we catch pullbacks. If they don't pull back and do a counter channel move like that, we don't take the trade. It's too risky. Okay, moving ahead again. I'll do one more session, then I'll cut the recorder off. What I want you to do, you boomerang owners, go do exactly what I'm doing here, and just write this down. All trend bands matching, trade the blue dot. All trend bands not matching, don't trade. If they match, trade the pullback the signal line with them all matching. In this current environment, that's the way to play it as safe as possible. Probably forever, but as a market like January gets a little more fluid, like I said, I had trades I was putting on getting filled in 8 seconds. It was ridiculous, but it might have been a little too fast for most traders. I kind of like it. I'm used to it, but for most traders, that's pretty ridiculously fast. Anyway, nothing here. They shot straight up. Notice no counter sell channels that had to reverse. No matching dynamic trend bands here. Just forget it. If you want, once the prices cross over the DTB number 2 and it changes colors, you can trade a pullback to the signal line in most cases. But here where they shot up, that's where you want to use that trading in the space between the crossover type thing. But look at this insane candle here, 24.75 running up to 31.75, 6-point hiked up candle. That's what I like, the boomerang 450 ticks. It tells you when to be careful. If you had 1-minute candles or those Renko candles, which, sorry if you love Renkos, I don't like them. You had 7 little Renko candles in here. What the hell does that tell you? In my view, nothing. Boomerang was designed for this exact purpose, to tell you when to be careful. You're going to have 10 little Renko candle bars going up and 10 little Renko candle. What does that tell you? I don't know. Maybe the Renko experts out there would know. Anyway, look at this. Is there any question of what to do here? Unless you're nuts. If you're a boomerang trader and you think there's anything to do here, you're not following the system. Yellow dot, blue dot, yellow dot, gray candle, red candle, yellow dot, hollow candle, green candle with a yellow dot on it, blue candles here. Nothing's matching. There's nothing to trade here. What happens all of a sudden as if by the magic of the dynamic trend bands, new sell channel opens up? Just wait for it. It's going to come. Get your focus up here on the dynamic trend band. If that's flattening, get ready when it changes color. New sell channel. As soon as that changes color, and you got get your finger right up here, and right there, boom. Uh-oh. I put a trade on. Anyway, look. Right here. All color bands matching, sell short, and you had an instant gratification. If you didn't have a 3-point limit in there to get you out, which you should normally, because that's how we set up the bands here on Ninja Trader, but you would have had a huge move. You couldn't have stopped it. It just went so fast. Let's go over here again. Look how simple this is. Keep your eye on the dynamic trend band number 2. I know you keep your eye on everything, but watch. Let's get our focus more on dynamic trend band number 2. Watch it to flatten. Get those prices above it. Get that signal line right here. Get that above the dynamic trend band number 2. Yeah, they're shooting up, but don't worry, because all of a sudden, right in here, everything's matching, right? You're going to see this here. You're going to see the dynamic trend band number 2 blinking here because it's moving slower. It's a little bit blinking blue and all that, but that's okay. With Cobra crossing, it's blinking here. This is very close. It's close. Dynamic trend band number 1 and 2, they're going to cross. Go ahead and buy that pullback signal line, or this one or this one. You would have been all right. Everything's matching here. Buy them. Have confidence. They're going higher. All of a sudden, big candle shooting up. Now everybody's going, wow, this is a volatile market here. Somebody had another method here to be short for some reason, getting whipsawed. We didn't. We were long. What do you got here? Absolutely nothing. Nothing to do here. This is the big day, 2-5 of this month, and I'm going to end the session when I get done with this one here. 2-5 is when it all started up till today. It's been a whipsaw soup, but I'm showing you how to solve that problem. Okay, I'm showing you how to solve that problem. And it's not hard, but you got to just open your eyes to what the market's really telling you with Boomerang. What do you do here? Nothing. Dynamic trend band is still steep and sloping up. The dynamic trend band number 1 is way in the heck up here. It should be smushed close to the being ready to cross over before you even consider a trade. And you want the Cobra to match. Well, it just turned into an insane whipsaw here, as this candle at 41.50 didn't stop until it got down to 37. Big 4-point candle, and then look, big whipsaw counter move. This is where some of your emails I'm seeing here on the room here. This is just pushing you around emotionally. It's not Boomerang. Nothing wrong with Boomerang. Nothing wrong with me. Nothing wrong with you. It's the markets. The market got taken in for an oil change on this day. It was approximately this day, February 5th. And when it got out of the mechanic's office, the mechanic accidentally or fooled around with the carburetor, and it sent the market spattering and sputtering. And an oil change is what started the problem. And then the Greek thing created the rest of this. Freaked out the European Union. Hey, they're globalists. They want to control the whole world. They don't like a country standing up to them and saying, we're going to disconnect and depeg from your currency. We're going to live on our own standard and solve our own problems. Oh, they didn't like that. That's why we got all the problem. It's the European Union fighting them. Anyway, it's a complex issue. All dynamic trend bands matching. Do you see any difference between this area with all this crazy spikiness and anything here? Do you see any difference? That's right. Here, all the trend bands are matching. Here, they're not matching. All the trend bands are matching. Trade the signal line. Down they go. With confidence, with guts and courage. So it takes a lot of guts to be a futures trader, but with Boomerang Day Trader, you can develop the courage by simply following what the dynamic trend bands are showing. Here's a Cobra crossing over. You know, that's generally in a normal market, that's okay. That's going to tell you you got a new buy channel, the Cobra's crossing, the sig line's crossing here. You're going to buy a pullback sig line right here with the Cobra matching dynamic trend band number 1. That's a normal rule. You've heard me say it on many of the webinars, but now I'm saying we got to be a little bit careful here. This is nuts. Well, when everything's matching right here, just barely, you could have bought this one and been a lot better off, because you see that blinking and you go ahead and buy that, you're going to be better off. Here, everything's clearly matching here, right? That's not a problem. 38. Now, with this market running up, here's what I can say to you. You can buy them at 38.25 here. The pullback was only in the 37, 36, no big deal, and 38 ran up higher. But when you see this, and you obviously look, I'm going to follow what Mohan said in the last webinar. I'm going to wait for all the trend bands to match, and oh, the market's shooting up, and there's a pullback signal line. Well, guess what? Here's my recommendation: get a discount. Instead of going 38 here, you're probably going to pull back because of that run up. Instead of taking 38, just get a little discount. Try to work them towards the Cobra a little more. You get them down by the 37 on the Cobra. Instead of 38, you get them down closer to 37 on the Cobra. Maybe you got this 37.25, whatever. Yeah, get a little discount on your price. That's all. Counter arrow, new arrow. Rocket ship to the moon, forget it. It's the volatility. You following me on this? It's not hard if you just follow what I'm saying. Get the focus on the dynamic trend band number 2. That's the one that's really guiding and curving and carving the market out here. Forget the whipsaw here. This is blue dot, yellow dot, blue dot, red candle, green candle, counter candles. Forget it. Look at this. Nothing. Right here, matching dynamic trend bands. You with me? Everything's well, the Cobra's blinking on and off. But say you perceive that we got a crossover, the Cobra's blinking on and off. It's an hour before the close. The rule for Boomerang is generally last half hour, forget it. Last hour is all right, but guess what here? You got short, let's say at 40, 43 half, 40 ran to 38. You had a problem here, but it's a rare, rare exception. First of all, the opening channel, first of all, you had you had a move up here, whipsaw candle, which is telling you to be cautious. Maybe you traded him here. You might have got 3 points out of it. Otherwise, didn't pan out. So what? Our first stop out after going through 5 sessions? Well, what's wrong with that? It's going to happen. Anyway, look at this. Counter move, quickly moving back up. Price is above the dynamic trend band number 2. All of a sudden, they're all matching here. Is it not crystal clear? There's nothing here that's going to be any different with the still chart or the live chart. Pullback signal line, up they go. All matching colors, trade the first color. All blue matching and blue and green, buy the first blue or second blue dot. All matching magenta, trade the first dot you get after they're all matching right here. Now this is not a trade. This is coming in the final minutes of the close. But look, Boomerang's so accurate that everything's matching right here. Here's the signal line, 50 quarter, and into the close they go down to 47. So I'm going to end this session right now on the recording so we can have so you can review this and have it preserved on the YouTube. I'll get that up there anytime here. So let me go ahead and stop that recording for right now.